Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something. I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and welcome into this very special bonus edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and I am very blessed to tell you that during this week where the U.S. Men's Amateur Championship is being played up at Merion Golf Club and over at Philadelphia Country Club, we're going to be completely focused on amateur golf. And who am I going to do that with? Well, you know what? My first guest is a wonderful friend of the show and a tremendous college coach who just happens to have a player in the USAM field this week. The coach is Steve Shingledecker from over at Robert Morris University, and the player is Chuck Tregresser. Steve actually is going to be on the bag for Chuck during the tournament. And Steve and I start off talking about the upcoming season and the expectations for his RMU squad. Steve and their players have done such a wonderful job growing that program into one that now expects to win every time they tee it up. And you're going to hear why and what's changed with their mindset over the last couple of years. They've gone from a team just happy to be in the field, really, to being one that now can win every single time. We also dive deeply into the U.S. Amateur and Chuck's game. We also get into the things that Steve experienced back in the day because he qualified for the U.S. Amateur in 2001 and the U.S. Mid-Am in 2003. So he brings a lot of experience and can help Chuck with what to expect out there. So we get into all of those things. And please, again, be sure to follow them on usga.org. You'll be able to see the stroke play piece and the leaderboard, and then as they progress on into the match play section as well. Following Steve, I'm joined by Sean Pierce. Sean is a tremendous amateur player in his own right. He plays out on the Amateur Players Tour. He's not only a player, he now owns and runs the Atlanta chapter of that tour. Go out and check those guys out at aptgolf.org. It sounds like a really fun league, one that any of us and all of us can go out and play in. You'll hear Sean talk about their 5 divisions, the rigor that they put into making sure that everyone's playing in the right division based on their handicap and their GIN, and you're going to hear why, and you're going to hear me say this a few times throughout the course of the conversation. Their tour is not like going out and playing in your local member guest, where somebody in a lower flight all of a sudden goes out and shoots 72. So they put a lot into making sure we're all in the right divisions so that we're all evenly matched. It's a fun league. It's a league that you can go out there and join. Go out and, again, check it out online by going to aptgolf.org, and they've got all of the sections that you can go out there and join and play in. $135. You'll hear, again, Sean talk about that. But for $135 and the private courses that you get to go play that you'd never have access to, outside of being a part of this league, all the swag that comes with that entry fee and all the wonderful things that they do, leaderboards out there so you know where you stand in the course of their tournaments. It sounds fantastic, and Sean is a lot of fun, so you'll get a lot out of that segment too. So Sean will be along about 45 minutes from now. So, folks, as always, thank you so much for being here and for pressing play on this episode. You know how much I appreciate you. Huge dose of vitamin G going out to each and every one of you. Sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next 90 minutes or so. One last thing, though, before we get started, if you don't mind, if you enjoy this show, if you enjoy what we do here, please subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. That's how the algorithm picks up this show and starts to display it to more great golf enthusiasts just like you. And I also want to invite you to check me out over on Substack. Over there, I've got some exclusive articles, behind-the-scenes stories, additional golf content, and, of course, your weekly dose of vitamin G. All right, Let's get started. Let's get this edition of Next on the Tee rolling. Before I bring on my first guest, I want to give you guys something that has just really stuck with me, and it's some products that I have been really impressed with. Now, they're local Pittsburgh products, but you can get them anywhere. It doesn't matter. They'll ship them wherever you're at. But two things that I am a huge fan of are hot sauce, and I love spices because I do the majority of the cooking in the house. And there are two companies that just knocked my socks off when I reached out. And look, they're not paying for this ad. This isn't a paid endorsement or anything. I just am so impressed that I want you to know about them and give you an opportunity to try them. And that is Artie's Hot Sauce. Huge fan of hot sauce. That's a big thing for me. Plus Steel City Salt. They have so many wonderful spice blends that I wanted to make you guys aware of them. If you're an enthusiast of either hot sauce or great spices that are going to light up everything that you put them on, I wanted to make you aware of them. I love trying different sauces and finding ones that have the perfect blend between heat and flavor. And a lot of sauces can bring the heat, but they've got no flavor behind it. Now, that is why I've become a huge fan of Artie's Hot Sauce. Artie's has found that sweet spot. His sauces bring plenty of flavor first and then the right amount of kick behind it. Whether you're putting it on wings, taco, burgers, eggs, pizza, or just about anything else, Artie's Hot Sauce makes everything that you have taste better. If you're a fellow hot sauce lover, you've got to go give them a try. You can find them out online at artieshotsauce.com. I also want to give a shout out to the Steel City Salt Company. Their handcrafted spice blends and seasonings are out of this world fantastic. I've become a big fan of several of them, including the Steel City Steak Seasoning, Black and Gold Blend, and their Pittsburgh Pepper Blend. I added them when I do things like grill out steak, grill out chicken. I sprinkle them on vegetables to give those an extra kick. I'm also a big pickle fan, so their dill pickle salt is going to knock your socks off. Not to mention their Pittsburgh's Little Italy, which I started to include in my Sunday red sauce recipe and sprinkle on top of pasta to give it an added burst of flavor. Their Black and Gold Blend, Yinzer Dust, and Love Pittsburgh Everything Salt is great on things like fries, eggs, the baked salmon that I make. John and the crew over there are going to grab you by the taste buds, and they're not going to let go. You're going to enjoy the attention that goes into each and every one of their blends. You're going to love it. I promise you. Go out there and check it out online for yourself. SteelCitySalt.com. You know I also have a huge dose of vitamin G for everybody over at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review and TribLive.com. TribLive.com is the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, and a podcast network, which is where you can find Next on the Tee. Bookmark TribLive.com or download the TribLive app for free and stay up to date with the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Check out all of their wonderful beers and their gift shop by going online to pittsburghbrewing.com. Okay, now back in Next on the Tee with me is one of my all-time favorite college coaches, Robert Morris's own Steve Shingledecker. Let me remind you a little bit about Steve's background. He is a native of Franklin, Pennsylvania, which is a little north of Pittsburgh. He has been the director of golf operations and instruction at the Turn Club in Cranberry Township. Prior to that, he was the director of golf at Nemacolin Woodlands from 2018 to 2020, one of the world's top 100 golf resorts. In college, Steve was a 4-year starter in baseball at North Carolina State from 1988 to 1991. He was the ACC Tournament MVP in 1990, and in his senior season, he was named All-ACC. After graduating with his degree in business management, he stayed at NC State as an assistant coach and helped them win the 1992 ACC championship. Coming back to golf in 1998, he was a section qualifier for the U.S. Open. In 2001, he was a local qualifying medalist and a sectional qualifier. He also qualified that year for the U.S. Amateur. In 2003, qualified for the U.S. Mid-Am. He's been the head coach there at Robert Morris for a few years now and a wonderful friend of the show, and I'm very excited I get to spend some more time with him this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Steve, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, honestly. Yeah, we were talking a little bit before the call. Although it's been a tough week or so, we're at least watching Pittsburgh Pirates baseball in August, so that's a step in the right direction for us. And you're right, it's kind of crazy right now with the golf team, and of course we'll discuss some of that, but
Yep.
Super excited.
All right, so let's talk about it all, because it feels like every time you're a part of the show, your program has taken another step forward. When you look back, Steve, over the last year, what are you most proud of that this team has accomplished?
Well, honestly, that's a great question. I was even going to give you a little heads up before we started. I have no qualms about talking. I thought, last year, and we've done a lot of great things. The kids have done a lot of great things as far as, results go. But I honestly thought that last year, in some ways, we took a little bit of a step backwards, not in terms of development, but in terms of results. And, in perfect honesty, as I think a big part of that was probably the guy that's leading the team, and that being me. It's a very new, obviously for me, it's new. I understood golf and playing golf, but coaching this sport is different. And, right now, and we've kind of shifted gears a little bit. And I think over the first couple of years, I thought a lot of it had to do with, hey, if we can get these guys hitting the ball better, we worked so hard on swing and swing technique, because that's something that I'd really worked and focused on learning. And I think to some extent, or actually I know to an extent, that the one thing I've learned and starting to really refocus on with the guys is just getting that darn thing in the hole and understanding better the strategy, around shot management and the mental side of it. And I think, we're ready. We put so much focus kind of starting about last January, coming out of the fall season on, your swing being your swing. Now, okay, of course, we're working on some things. Everybody's working on some things. Scotty's working on some things. But we have really started to refocus on understanding what's causing the scores. Because at this level, it's just one shot. It may be two shots at most during a round, that is the difference between us being who we are and who we want to be. And we're, guys right now, it's amazing in the summer, they're putting, they chart every shot. We have a program, a system that we use that, for analytics now. And, we go through a lot of the day to day now is understanding what's causing the 74 to be a 76 or the 72 to be a 74. And that's what we're getting at now. And I'm really proud of how well the guys have embraced that process, and understanding too that, that's what we have to do now to get where we need to go. I'm not going to, again, we've talked many times. I'm not a guy that's going to redo my team and look for, we are who we are, and we're really proud of that. But we've spent a lot of time now in the last 6 or 8 months really focusing on how to lower our score.
So there's a lot there to unpack, Steve. And we've talked over the years about going from a program that was just out there playing in tournaments to being a program that goes out there every week with an opportunity and an expectation to win. And I think you've built that. It seems like when I go back and look over the last couple of years, particularly to a year ago, last fall, to what you had in the spring, the team started to come around to that. And you've talked about how you wanted to build confidence, not just build scorecards. Talk about how the team has started to embrace that idea. And are you getting to a space where this group feels like they can go out and compete every single week to win?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely do. I know that, among other things, we talked in our schedule is obviously a big deal to us. And we play a generally we've been out kicking our coverage, as far as schedule goes. We either play, tournaments that West Virginia hosts with, twice a year, and very, very strong mid-major fields. We go south, which, when you go south in March, you're already at a disadvantage. And, um, and I think a lot of it now is understanding. So the guys have seen, I mean, we're right beside Oklahoma State in the practice range at West Virginia's tournament at Pete Dye, and they get an opportunity now to see what it looks like. And a big part of that is realizing that it's not a whole lot different than what they look like. This isn't a sport where I think like basketball or something. If everybody gets you off your bus at 6 feet and everybody gets off the other bus at 6'8", you're in deep trouble. And watching, they've been able to understand and realize that they have the potential and we have the potential, but there's such as you mentioned, there's such a finite, and that's what we're working the most on, is understanding just how detailed we have to be and get to get to where we can, again, it's the difference between fifth place and second place is generally going to be one shot a kid per round. And I think we're getting to a place now we know we can do it, and it's time for us to do it.
All right, so changing gears just slightly, Steve, because obviously the big news around the program has been Chuck Tregresser, right? He earns a spot in the USAM. That's one of the biggest accomplishments that you can get as an amateur player. When Chuck was out there going through the qualifying round, what was your reaction when you heard he got in?
Yeah, I'd be lying if a big part of that too is I know what number one Chuck means to our program, it's meant to our program, and his commitment to come here and stay here. And I think number two is I also know how hard he's worked and some ups and downs. He wants to play professionally, and as we all know, that's a very, very difficult process. And I know the work he's put in, and I think at times particularly probably last year, he wasn't meeting his expectations, and we've had a lot of conversations around the whys. And I think you'll see it at all levels of this game, especially, as you get up into the kind of professional ranks, whether you get out there and start to get a little protective or, you kind of go down a different path with your swing. And so he's put so much time into it. And I happened to be playing in a Steeler alumni outing that day when he was at the second stage. And, he'd missed a couple of different things, U.S. Open qualifier, the Sonny Hannah by one shot. So, I was following along. And the guys that I was playing with, and the host there was Kevin Colbert, who used to be the GM for the Steelers for a long time. And at one point they kept looking at me as I was, like we wouldn't be hitting a shot and I would pump my fist or something because I'd see a birdie coming down the stretch. So I was the most happy certainly for Chuck, because he has the drive, and he has the game and the talent. I mean, it's still from here. I know how difficult it is, but for him, for us, the program, for him to have this opportunity, and I'm, I'll tell you straight up, I think he has a very legitimate chance of getting the match play. I watched him play the AM at Oakmont a little bit last week, the state M, and the kid's playing really, really good. And it's great for our program, but it's really great for him and his family. It's a great family too.
Steve, you talked about how hard he's worked. Tell everybody about Chuck's journey just to get into the field at the USAM.
Yeah, I mean, the used to be, I think, back when I did it, it was one day, 36 holes. You play as good as you can. You're done. If you're in, you're in. But they've shifted that now to, 18. You have almost like the U.S. Open qualifying, but you have 18 and 18. And you're going to play two different golf courses. So I believe he went to the first qualifier was at Sonny Hannah. It was 3 or 4 under there. I want to say 3 under 67. And, that gets you. And then it starts from scratch because ironically, another one of my kids, Ben Sheridan, was, I think 7 under. at his original qualifier. I would tell you his score, but in a crazy story, he only played 17 holes. Somehow they ended up with one hole off limits that day. So he shot 61, but they only played 17 holes. But, you go back to a clean slate like the Open qualifier. So his second round, I don't know if I get this right, was at Lanier, near Philadelphia. And I know that golf course is tough. And he, 5 birdies, 1 bogey, 67. And you got, I think, 3 or 4 weeks in between the 2 qualifiers. So you really got to stay focused, and he was able to do that. And I think he's second or third at that second qualifier. So, again, watching him hit it right now and watching him get around there, I think he's got a good chance.
Steve, for our listeners who haven't had an opportunity to see Chuck play, talk about the strengths of his game that has given him an opportunity to go out there and compete against the best amateurs in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a player like him, a lot of players, it starts between the ears, not, with the hands and arms and all that other stuff. He has the right mindset. The one thing I'll say about Chuck, and actually as a coach from a distance, it drives me crazy, but it's a good thing, is that he may be the only player I coach that when he hits a tee ball or an iron shot or whatever he hits, that from a distance, I can't tell whether it was good or bad. Most of the time, it's a dead giveaway with those guys. They one-arm it, or they shrug, or they twirl the club, which means it's a good one. I know their signal. No giveaway with Chuck. He does a great job mentally with the game. I would say he plays a little bit, and maybe we've had some conversations at times, maybe even to a fault, in a way, like a Scheffler, where he really kind of plods his way around the golf course. And I've told him a couple of times, like, son, with your game, you got to, go make some birdies. And he has, by the way, done a really, a little bit better job of that as he got through. I know he got through into the Monday qualifier at the ISCO down there by shooting, I think, 6 or 7 under. He didn't make it on the event, but that's the first part. Now, obviously, you got to be able to hit it good. And, I think Chuck, his biggest strength right now is understanding the game. It's, we talk all the time. It's short game and where your bad shots go or where your misses go. And, he's rarely puts himself in a position where he can't make par. And when, that's what you look at the guys on tour, you get to see a lot of good shots for sure. But the truth is, it's just like ESPN when you're watching basketball or baseball highlights, all you see are, home runs and slam dunks. But the reality is, what you don't see are the guys setting screens and getting rebounds and things like that. And the same as the PGA Tour. You might see a lot of brilliant shots, but the guys that are cashing checks every week are the ones where their bad shot is better than everybody else's bad shot. And he's really gotten to a point where, he's almost like, I think, or, watching him play this summer again. He doesn't always make the par. He misses the 6-footer. He doesn't get up and down here there. He might 3-putt, but he puts himself in a position on every hole to make par or better. And, and then now with the short game, he's able to make 4 or 5 birdies with a bogey or 2, and that's good scoring.
You mentioned mentally. There are a lot of talented guys out there, obviously, playing, but not everybody is able to contain themselves and control themselves and thrive when the pressure gets dialed up. What have you seen from Chuck's game mentally that has convinced you that he's ready for this opportunity in the USM?
You just don't see a lot of ups and downs. I don't think that he allows his bad shots to have a major effect on him. And he can run off 3 or 4 birdies, and he's also not going to let that affect him. We talk used to talking basketball about the score always being 0-0. And one of the things we focus on now as a team, and certainly individually, is what we call an immunity to par. It's, don't allow yourself to be, caught up in whether you're 1 under, 2 under, 3 under par or over. And that's, something that, again, the ability for him to stay, and it's so cliche, but in the moment, is different than what you see from a lot of kids, especially a lot of younger players.
So this isn't going to be just another tournament for you because you'll actually be on the bag for Chuck. How different is it going to be standing alongside him as opposed to maybe a little bit off or on the other side of the rope?
Well, the first part of that is that I don't know the last time I carried my bag for more than from my car to the first tee or the card staging area. So I don't know if we only have a handful of days left here, but I don't know if the people of the village of Pine where I live are going to find it odd to see a guy walk in the neighborhood carrying a golf bag, but that may be what they see in the next 4 or 5 nights. And I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, like 18. And then I remembered if we get a little bit further down the road, we may be looking at a 36 hole day. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but it's obviously when I'm coaching, when as a college coach, you can do basically what a caddy can do. And so we have the relationship of me being out there with him, but it's pretty rare. Now, if he's in the hunt, as he's been a couple of times, whether it's conference or when he won at Virtues or things like that, I'll walk with him the whole time. But you're still talking 4 or 5 or 6 holes. Now, this is the real deal where, I'm going to be with him all the way through, and it's going to be a little different. But I'll tell you what, I'm incredibly humbled that he asked, even though both my legs were like, oh no, there's no world where I wouldn't do this. He's certainly has other options. I'm excited for him, and like I said, I'm glad that he has the confidence in our relationship and everything to have me out there. I've taken a pretty good look. Never played, but taking a pretty good look at Merion and Philadelphia Country Club, and I don't think he gave me the easiest 2 golf courses to help him maneuver, but I'm really excited to do it.
So is your job going to be more course management, emotional support, knowing when to just be quiet and let him play? How do you feel like your role is going to play out while you're on the bag?
Yeah, I think that's the same role I have as a coach. I think that's the same role that, tour caddies have is to feel and understand the moment. Obviously the very cerebral player. And so I don't want to get in the way of that. If it comes down to just giving him a yardage. Now we've worked together for a few years. We still laugh about a couple of moments. I'll make sure he listens to this when I tell him, when he hears that he did push that shot at Cutter Creek. It wasn't the wind. I told him the wind wasn't moving the ball to the right. It wasn't. He pushed it. Whatever. But for him and I work pretty good together as far as the conversations go. They're generally around the greens. I'm reading it just as hard and as much as he is. And this goes kind of with any of my players, but then I'm going to wait. Then I wait for the ask. I'm not going to jump right in there and say, hey, this is what I see. I wait for the ask. I don't want to step in the way of confidence. And if it's something where I feel he's got it, then I'll grab that flag stick and walk off to the side. And I think you got to feel that out, but sort of have that experience in the coaching part of it. Again, as we said, this is a little different. I think I'll be, probably not that I'm not in, but when I'm coaching we're playing a tournament, I'm also have my phone in my hand looking to see if somebody made par on 15 or what we did on 14 or who's, doing good and doing bad. That's not happening here. So I'll be able to also really put a singular focus on helping him. But I think we'll kind of feel that one out.
So will you guys be heading over to Merion and Philadelphia Country Club here shortly to put together yardage books, start to play and learn the courses a little bit, kind of formulate what your strategy is going to be and identify where you think you guys can be aggressive versus, hey, let's play conservative over here? When does that start?
Well, I found it's kind of the first time I found that a reason to watch some of the stuff on YouTube that exists. I used to give those guys, sometimes give the guys crap about watching too much YouTube, but I'm now watching guys play Merion and Philadelphia Country Club, which I think was redesigned in 25. So it's got some, again, it's been pretty significantly, I think, updated. But yeah, we'll get going on Saturday. So they play each course. They practice round on Saturday, practice round on Sunday, and then you play, the 18-18 on Monday, Tuesday. Yardage books are on the way. Again, I think we've, as you mentioned in the beginning about with the team, the practice rounds are something that we've started to put a little bit of a different emphasis on and understanding. And I've followed some different guys out there. I don't know if you call them instructors, but like Scott Fawcett and things like that on how they prepare for a practice round. And so we're doing a lot more of that. And yeah, I think it's a process that's already started, but we'll really kick in on Saturday when we're there.
Is there something that you hope Chuck actually hears, not just physically hears, but actually internalizes during the championship? Because he's going to face adversity at some point out there. You rarely have a clean round where everything goes the way that you had drawn it up on the whiteboard. But is there a message that you want Chuck to hear so that he can stay within himself? You talked about he doesn't seem to outwardly seem any different from a good shot to a bad shot, but is there anything you're hoping he will internalize so that he can stay in that moment and not get down on himself if things start to go a different direction and he faces that adversity?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think for Chuck, he's native Pittsburgh kid really, and played here at this, kind of mid-major level. And yeah, he's had some success, but we haven't been on, kind of the big national stage. And I think for Chuck, one of the things that we've really, I've tried to instill in him and help him understand and is the realization that he can play with anybody, and he can. And I think for him at times he's been really, really close. And, you talk about, kind of the definition of confidence, and some of the folks that you have on the show here talk about it. But, that's your kind of preparation, experience, and survival. Preparation, you put into something, and how many times you go through it. And when it doesn't go well, that you survived it. And, for Chuck, certainly the preparation is there, but the experience, we haven't been on, this is a really big stage. And so I think for him, it's more than anything is especially in the beginning, is realizing that, he's as fast as any horse in this race. And whether it's a bogey or two in the beginning or a couple of birdies, it's either way, and he does, again, a great job of staying in the moment, trust me. But, I really think for him, it's maybe getting through the part of there's going to be some names and people there and players there at the collegiate level, especially, that are considered the best in the world. And I need to help him understand that he absolutely belongs with any of them.
For you, what are you looking forward to most about this opportunity to share this experience with him?
It's the same as anything I talked about a little bit earlier, but I'm in a way, this last year, as I mentioned, has been all, I think coaching, and to be a good coach, you certainly have to understand your strengths and weaknesses, just like a player does. And I kind of thought, hey, I've coached other sports. I know golf. I'm good. I'll be good. I'm going to be a good. But as it turns out, there is a lot more to this game than what just being a player when you go to coach it. And I really look forward to being able to see again at a little bit of a less cluttered, for me, level. Generally when we're at a tournament, I got to do everything, the lineup, the hotels, everything. And here I'm going to get a little bit more, hopefully, of an isolated look at, what some of the other guys are doing that are either at Chuck's level or where he strives to be. And, their habits before and after and on the golf course, their preparation, and, it can be anything, even some to an extent, the clubs, anything I can get from the best amateurs, especially in the world, to help the rest of these guys grow. And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. It's just being able to, to hopefully learn from it myself.
And we'll be right back. In golf, fast isn't a nice to have, fast is a necessity, and speed off the tee is where it all starts. That was precisely the thinking behind the all-new QI4D family of drivers from TaylorMade, our fastest, most fittable drivers. Built to meet the demands of the world's best players like Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Nelly Korda, and the rest of Team TaylorMade. The QI4D lineup was engineered to unlock the 4 dimensions of speed, starting with a multi-material driver head with enhanced aerodynamic shaping, combined with a faster face and our revolutionary React shaft system. The TaylorMade QI4D drivers are ready to extract every bit of speed from every golfer's unique swing profile. Our industry-leading adjustability and fitting unlocks it all. Watch the full story of QI4D, our quest to build the fastest, most fittable drivers, and unlock your newfound speed at TaylorMadeGolf.com/findingfast. You guys know what a fan I am of On Point Golf. Folks, get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only 3-dimensional ball marker with alignment technology and a removable coin. It is approved for use according to the rules of golf as defined by the USGA and the R&A. As we all know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your 3-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and lower your scores. Folks, with the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals, and amateurs alike out there using them now, it's the #1 ball marker in golf that actually helps you lower your scores. Go online to onpointgolf.us, read about the science behind it, then put one in your bag and make more putts. I feel like it's the 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let On Point help yours as well? Again, onpointgolf.us. Check them out and get one in your bag today. Now let's talk about a piece of equipment that we all struggle with out on the golf course, and that's our sunglasses. Rated the #1 glasses in golf, John Doe's Crisp Extreme lenses are the highest quality lenses in the business. They are golf-centric. They have non-polarized lenses with true depth perception, so you get to keep your glasses on for every shot. How great would that be not to have to take your glasses off and on during the course of your round? So you have true, proper depth perception every time that you're standing over the golf ball. Now, John Doe is co-owned by 4-time major champion Ernie Els. Why? Because when he tried them, he immediately wanted in. John Doe, see the game differently. Go to johndoesport.com and enter promo code NOT, N-O-T-T, for next on the tee for a $35 discount at checkout. That's John Doe Sport, JONDOSPORT.com. I wear them on the course, when I'm driving, or just when I'm out and about, and people tell me all the time, hey man, I love your sunglasses. See the difference for yourself at johndoesport.com.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together, hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
Now let's get back to the show. Like I mentioned in your intro, Steve, you qualified for the U.S. Amateur once upon a time. So does that experience that you have that you're bringing to this, is that going to help prepare Chuck for what he might see out there?
Maybe to an extent. I honestly, he's so much better than I am or was. I was a baseball player who generally was, at times was able to put together some really good rounds. And I'll be honest, I do play, I think pretty solid round of golf through more mental than anything. I don't get in a lot of trouble, that kind of thing. And from my experience there, I was absolutely overwhelmed at that level. You know, whether it was a U.S. Open sectional or, you know, not having played the 40 or 50 kind of college tournaments that I, you know, would have played if I played in college. I felt like when I got at that level, I definitely didn't know if I belonged. But at least in the, you know, the preparation side and understanding. And I, you know, for him, he has, again, he plays his game. He can qualify without question. He doesn't have to go above and beyond like I would have had to play. But to some extent, I think that also I can help him in regards of the calmness factor. I'd love to tell you that what I learned was it was a little bit different back then, as you know. You know, you don't have, heck, I didn't know that 90% of the players there. You didn't have, you know, the access to amateurs and like you do now. But yeah, hopefully he'll learn to get to match play, which is something I didn't learn.
So a couple of things there. First of all, the most important thing, and you say your game's pretty good, you're not getting yourself in a lot of trouble, but the most important thing with that is, can you beat Eric Johnson?
Oh, God. I mean, we got to, you know, yeah. I mean, does he even play anymore? I mean, he's just, that's not, I'm not sure. Eric claims a lot of things, but I don't know.
I'm sure it's just a bunch of fluff and his memory, not what actually happened.
Hey, I'll be remiss if I don't add too, because I was going to send you something, but I love certainly talking about Chuck. But if you get me back on the show at any time soon, we can talk about the soon-to-be Robert Morris University women's golf team.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow, that's big news. This just in.
Yeah.
When do the ladies start?
You know,
there was
no, I can, believe it or not, there was an actual hope we could start in the fall.
Wow.
I know. That's been, we're still giving that a little bit of a shot. And gosh, I don't, between the, you know, the NCAA and the injunctions and the courts and everything else, you don't know exactly what's going on to be able to potentially build a team in 3 or 4 weeks would have been and is maybe a tall order. So there's kind of 3 ways we can go. If we get some young ladies in here that want to play, we can play as individuals in 26 and, you know, then start the team part in 27. Or we can pull a rabbit out of our hat and actually, you know, been able to, gain some momentum, but it's obviously very late in the game on potentially starting at 26, you know, with a full team, or you know, I don't want to say the most likely scenario, but would be we'd start officially with a team at 27.
Wow. That's great news.
I know. That's what my semi-retirement plan has just gone downhill so fast.
No doubt. So let's talk about this fall season. We've obviously spent a lot of time talking about Chuck, but talk about the other players that we should know about that are ready to make a jump this season and help the team, like we talked about at the beginning, to hopefully be contending each and every week that you guys tee it up.
Yeah, I mean, we only lost. Well, I say we only lost one player, and I'm not even 100% sure I lost my one player because of the ever moving NCAA and injunctions and everything else. But other than Peyton, who graduated last year and now still may, who knows? We have everybody back. And, you know, as I've told you many times, if you're willing to, I sign you and you're willing to work hard, that's my team. I'm not going to go out there and look to make big changes or, you know, they committed to me, I commit to them. So we got everybody back, and that gives us certainly something to build on and some momentum. Ben Sheridan has had a great freshman year, a really good freshman year, maybe again last year a little bit lateral, but he's had a really good summer. Again, got through the first stage of the AM, shooting 7 under. We're got a little bit of work to do as far as he can hit it. And, that's something that we're all everybody on this team is working on is understanding that there's, if you got a short game and you know where your bad shots are going, can't get away from you. And so he's a great ball striker, and I think he's really going to come back strong. Chase Blocker is had a kind of a breakout last year, if you will. Didn't play tons as a freshman, and then came out in the first tournament and finished second, shooting 66, 65 or something the last 2 rounds at Marshall, and showed some really good signs. Just mutilates the golf ball. I mean, and very smoothly too. It's incredible to see, the strength some of these kids can produce it without what seems like a lot of effort. He's had a pretty good summer in Ohio, over there in Columbus, in the AM, the Open, getting it to where, again, Chase, if we can get that, a couple of those bad swings to not be as penal, he can be really, really good and is putting the time in. So, we got kind of those 3 guys, and then we have the rest of the guys are, we got opportunity. And, we've had, like, Tanner's played well. Cardwell is a senior, and Connor McKenzie was a freshman last year, was in the lineup most of the time. Ben Skripak, these guys have experience. They have tournament experience. Now it's going to be a matter of, getting up there and, really tipping it, kind of taking it to the next level. I think with Chuck and Ben, that we should get, kind of a consistent 2 guys that can get us out there in that even part of, who knows, 400 or 500 range, not to put too much pressure on them. And if you can get that from at this level, at the mid-major level, if you can get 2 guys who, can put you in that position almost every tournament round, then you just need 2 out of the next 3. And we certainly have the guys that can do that. We need to be more consistent. And, I think we're well on our way. It's just, you kind of obviously have to be here to see the different things we're doing and what I've learned. And, again, last summer, I felt like they went off, and I'd call him, we talk and stuff, but I don't know that we did enough in the summer. And it's difficult because the summer is when they can practice the most, yet I'm not with them. This summer, we communicate on a very regular basis. And again, they have to put, basically every shot they hit goes in. I see it in through the computer, but I see it. And, plus the chance to get out and see some of the guys play. So I feel like that, we're going to turn a corner this year, and, and I'm going to, really excited to see. It just feels like a little bit of a different vibe. Like we kind of know what we're doing, and we're going to set some new goals.
So along that line, what's going to determine for you if the team has had a successful year or if they haven't quite lived up to the expectation that you guys all have for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I always tell anybody and everybody here, especially when we're playing tournaments with, Power 4 schools, is that, the best you can do from coaching or as a player is playing the best you possibly can. So, with that said, I know, we've been in the conference 3 years. That I'd love to say that our goal is to win the conference championship. I think that's a little tougher in golf, because the conference championship comes down to 3 or 4 days. And, in golf, you get the, you get the yips, or a little bit of a snap hook or whatever at the wrong time. But for us, I think that, there's rankings and all that fun stuff, but I think that we have the ability now to, in the tournaments we play, to compete, to win. And that's against, especially against some of the better mid-major fields. You look at our schedule we're going to Virtues, and, there's a couple of Power 4 schools there, but some great mid-majors. We're fortunate to play a tournament at the Field Club this year that Miami of Ohio actually hosts, but, that's a great mid-major field at Davidson. And then we're going to go to Nemacolin, that's WVU. Now, it would take quite a task to get, take them down, but, and then we finish at ODU down in the Outer Banks. And, I think at least in 4 out of 5 of those, we got to be within reach in all of those tournaments of, having a chance to win. To win a tournament at this level where we're at is not easy. It's got to be within reach. So I feel like, we certainly have that ability that I got. No matter who it is, I can run 5 guys out there that can shoot under par. Whether they do, if they could shoot 68 every day, they probably wouldn't be playing for me. I'd be pushing them off to Chapel Hill. Well, not Chapel Hill. I can't even believe I said that. But
really, holy cow!
That was looking different. It's been a long day. Raleigh or someplace like that. But these guys they put themselves with their work in position to be able to shoot that. Now we got to go get it.
So, Steve, for talented young lady golfers out there that might be listening in to young male golfers that say, I want to play for a guy like that, and for just our listeners in general, how can they reach out to you? How can they follow you, whether they're doing it online or they're doing it on social media?
You would think after 5 or 6 times on here, the same way you ended every time, I would be able to answer this question a little bit better, with actual data or analytics, here's my, but nowhere.
But you got nothing?
I have something, I can say, I'm not going to say like MySpace or something like that. But,
ooh, thank God.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's obviously you can go to rmucolonials.com and we're just now kind of building up the women's side of it, but to Instagram, to our, what else do we have here? Whether it's, I don't know if we have Facebook. Do we have that?
I don't think you have.
We have it.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably do. I know you're on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah. I reluctantly and not shockingly, turn some of our social media over to my more senior players. I know that could never come back to bite me, right? And we really are need to start cranking away at that a little bit better. But I am very, very findable, especially if you're a young lady and you're looking for a place to start and play. This is, I'm out there, we're out there, we're doing this, and we're putting together a staff, and it's kind of interesting. It's only been doing it a month, but the fraternity on the women's golf side, while certainly it's a much smaller percentage, but it's been very welcoming. Colleen Myers at Duquesne has been wonderful, helping me, just kind of navigate these early waters, and some folks, and I think we'll get this thing going for sure, and I'm looking forward to it. But I got to start figuring some things out pretty quick. I promise you. Like I'm at the range or whatever at Oakmont or Montour or wherever I'm at, and walking up to these young girls. I'm like, "Hi, how old are you?" And I got gonna have to figure out a way to do this a little differently. It's a foreign space for me right now, but we're really excited, and I can't wait to be able to. We'll be then the only school in town that has both men's and women's Division I, and being able to build a women's program here as well as get our men's program to where we want. It's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is. Steve, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. It's always so much fun to spend time with you. You're awesome, my friend. I wish you a ton of success, obviously. I mean, Chuck, I'm certainly rooting for him and looking forward to watching the two of you get through the USM, hopefully through the stroke play and into the match play section, and then obviously getting into the fall season and all the great things you and the rest of the team are going to do. Very excited to hear that you're going to put a women's team together and see how that comes together. So when the time is right, hopefully in not too distant future, you can come back and talk more about that, because I think you're going to make that a huge success.
Thank you, Chris. I love coming on the show.
Take care, Steve. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
See you, bud. That is the great Steve Shingledecker, folks. And look, there's so much to love about that guy. What a tremendous individual. So first and foremost, he's a great man. And from there, he's a great coach. I love the part where he talks about, if you're going to commit to me, I'm going to commit to you. And what I get out of all of those conversations, plus the ones that I've had with Steve previously, is he's not looking to go out and then cherry pick somebody else on some other roster to take your spot. If you're his guy, you're his guy. And together, as a team, we're going to make this thing successful. And as I've watched the growth of the team over the last several years, it gets bigger and better every single year, as do the players. And to me, that's something you can directly link back to Steve and his style and who he is and how much he's going to root for you and how much he's going to try to help you prepare and get ready. So to me, and this is my opinion, but I think Chuck is where he is because he ended up in the right program with the right men's head coach, and that's what got him prepared to be able to play in a U.S. Amateur. And the rest of the players are going to have that same wonderful opportunity. You're going to put in the work, you're going to be my guy, and we're going to get you there. That's how I look at what Steve has done with this wonderful program. And now the excitement around the fact that he is going to build a women's team on top of that is unbelievable. And the other thing that Steve mentioned there at the end, the only Division I men's and soon to be women's golf team in and around the city of Pittsburgh. Not at Pitt, not at some of the other schools, but at Robert Morris. So folks, if you're listening, you've got a talented young lady, point her in the direction of Steve Shingledecker. Get him in touch with Steve. You can, as he said, he's maybe not the best at social media and that sort of thing, but you can find Robert Morris and you can find him online at rmucolonials.com. So you can get in touch with Steve, or if you want to reach out to me, I'll get you in touch with Steve. Please reach out to him because he's such a wonderful influence on these young players. And like I say, building a tremendous program. So I look forward to catching up with Steve, watching what they do at the USM. We'll get him back on the show again here before too long. And we'll be right back. You guys have heard me talking about and bragging about the things that are going on up at Macklemore. It's an unbelievable golf resort and destination. Let me remind you about what they have going on this year. Get ready to experience a game like never before at the Keep, the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course at Macklemore. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round here is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore. The Keep is open and it's waiting for you. And folks, if you haven't tried 2-under yet, you really need to. Why? Well, from the first tee to the clubhouse, 2-under's Joey Pouch is going to keep you comfortable and locked in all round or all day. Build your own bundle by going online to 2-under, that's the number 2, UNDR.com, and save up to 20%. Okay, now making his next On the Tee debut with me is Sean Pierce. Sean recently took over the Atlanta chapter of the Amateur Players Tour. He is not only now leading the chapter, he is also a 2-time Division II APT Player of the Year, winning it back in 2022 and last season in 25. In fact, he hasn't been out of the top 5 going all the way back to 2021, and when he won it last year, it wasn't even close. He's currently ranked 6th this year across Divisions 1 and 2. He recently won the APT Summer Stableford Shootout at Sequoia National Golf Club up in Cherokee, North Carolina, and I'm very excited I get to spend some time with him today here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Sean, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me.
So, Sean, I want to start off our time together by getting some background on just exactly what the Amateur Players Tour is. Talk about what it is and who can play on it.
The APT is an awesome golf tour that has multiple divisions that basically brings tournament golf for all amateur players. It's a great place to come and meet, have some fellowship, and get your competitive juices flowing and really get experience what tournament golf is about. So we're a small tournament chapter here out of Atlanta. There's several chapters throughout the country, and we have a national chapter that runs majors, and we basically run this similar to the PGA Tour, where there's a local level competition that's a points race, and it all leads up to a national major pool where we play at some really high end courses, and it gives golfers of all skill set to compete with similar players and in different divisions and really get a chance to feel what tournament golf is.
Sean, now that you own the Atlanta chapter, what all does that entail for you putting everything together?
Well, honestly, I took over a great foundation. So the previous owner was awesome. He really laid the groundwork, and we really want to build on it. We want to grow the fields. We want to play some great golf courses and bring some partners that really make every golf tournament and every event that our players, get to look forward to something special for them. It's already an awesome place to have a good time. We're just looking to build on that.
So when the opportunity came your way, Sean, to potentially buy this chapter, what made you say, yeah, I'm in?
Well, I've been playing this for about 7 years, and honestly, it's a blast. I've met so many great people, and I've had such a good time that I just love this, and I honestly wanted to keep this momentum going and be able to share my experience with everyone else. Our actual motto is for the players, by the player, and I can't think of a better person that is the player. I've played in these events, and I'm telling you what, this is a really great experience, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
So now that you're running the chapter, kind of looking at what it was like prior to you coming on board, and you said that you liked the foundation that you took over. But are there things now that you want to put your personal stamp on, some things you might want to change a little bit?
There's a few things I want to add. I want to take us to a few more golf courses. The previous owner lived in Birmingham, actually owns the Birmingham chapter currently. He owned both chapters. And, running 2 chapters is a challenge getting over here. I mean, it's 2 hours away. He was still able to put on 12, 13 events a year, but we really want to increase that. We want to grow our field so we can have, more tournaments, hopefully 3 to 5 tournaments a month at some really nice private courses and get some higher payouts with some sponsorships for, people to partner with us and enjoy this experience of tournament golf.
So for our listeners that are listening around the country, you mentioned there are multiple chapters everywhere. Do you have an idea? Can you tell us how many chapters there are in some of the other major markets that people can find them in?
I think at the moment we've got close to 6,000 members. We have a chapter in Central Georgia, which is Macon. We've got one in Augusta. We've got one in Central Chattanooga, and a little bit of just about every major city across the country. The best part of being in Atlanta is, we're going to have a pretty robust schedule. But if we don't have something on the schedule for this weekend, you've got Central Georgia down in Macon that runs tournaments. They're going to have some as well. You've got Augusta that's running tournaments. We've got one called Upstate that's just right over the South Carolina line. So, I mean, you really have, 5 or 6 surrounding tours that you could play on at any time you want. But the best part of joining the membership is you can play any of these chapters across the country. So that's really the best. That's a lot of fun. You go around and experience some golf in different states.
Take us into some of the details for people that are now thinking, you know what, I might like to get into some of these tournaments. What are the tournaments like? How are they run?
So typically it's when you register for a tournament, if you haven't already been a part of APT, we send out a little questionnaire that basically asks what you shoot. We take that with your GIN and we try to put you into a certain category between Division 1 and Division 5. Division 1 is my open flight, is 3.5 handicap and below, and Division 5 is 18.5 and above. I think just this weekend, my Division 5 flight had 15 people in it, and 93 won the tournament. So, I mean, I have a wide variety of range for everybody. And once you're inside your division, it's open. So you're playing among like skill set people, and you're just trying to compete.
When you said that the category 5 at 93 won it, I think that made me feel good because it's not going to be like your local member guest where someone comes along and they're in Division 5 and the next thing you know, they shoot 72, right?
That's exactly right. We actually have a robust handicap committee. It's made up of a bunch of chapter owners, and we review every player that comes through. Not only that, but before every tournament, we run a handicap checker to make sure that there's nobody out there doing some crazy sandbagging. Every round's reevaluated as well. So, you're not going to see the guys that's going out there shooting even par through 14 and then double bogey in the last 3 holes because he's so far ahead of the field. We really stand by, avoiding sandbagging and keeping our players in line. And to be honest with you, the guys that are on this tour, they're awesome, man. And everybody really wants to have a good time and they're just coming out to compete. We're not stuffy. We really want to have a good time and have some fellowship. And, the best part is you're competing with somebody on the front 9. On the back 9, you're having a beer, and that's the kind of the name of the game. So,
Yeah. Sean, you're obviously one of the best players out on the tour, certainly in the Atlanta chapter. How are you going about balancing leading the chapter, but also continuing to play at a high level?
that's been the hardest part so far. I've been running events all year long, and I told my wife I really believe that she pushed me into buying this so I'd play less golf. It's
That's
been
awful.
difficult. It has been difficult, but I tell you, it's kind of a different way because although I don't get to play in the tournaments, I can play. It's just I prefer to run a smooth tournament, make sure everybody's taken care of, make sure the rule questions are asked. We really strive for player experience. I mean, we give out water throughout the round. It's hot. We give out snacks. If there's a rules question, we're there to help out. And we really try to facilitate getting this guys in and off the golf course because, it can be complicated. The good news is every time I book a tournament, I always try to include a practice round so I can get out there and experience what it is.
To that end, for you now trying to get all of these guys through the tournament and have a good time and all of those sorts of things, there's got to be something in it for the golf course. How are you going about signing up different golf courses to want to participate and host an event?
Well, a lot of these golf courses that I play are private. So some of them are closed on the weekends or are closed on like a Monday or a Tuesday. We book on those days. A lot of them are happy to give us a spot. They all love to showcase their golf course. And honestly, for them, it drives membership for them as well. Getting people out to experience what it is to play a private course and see it when it's manicured and how beautiful it is. That's really the best part of the APT tours. I mean, I think out of the 6 tournaments we have scheduled in the fall, 5 are private courses. You can't get on them unless you come play with us. So, I mean, it's that's really one of the benefits. And for the golf course, it's a great thing to be able to showcase an excellent course to, 50, 70 golfers.
So for most players, right, when we're going to come out there and play a tournament, we only see what it's like when we show up for tournament day, or like you say, if you happen to have a practice round. For you, there's a whole lot that's going on behind the scenes leading up to that. Kind of give us a peek behind the curtain. What are all the things that you have to do in order to get a tournament launched?
So it typically starts with, honestly, where I want to play, because a lot of these courses around, they're desirable, so I really want to get out to them myself, so, we've got a great example, in October, we have a course called Braylon down in Peachtree City. I've been wanting to play it for a while. I reached out to their membership and I said, hey, I'd really like to come play your course. They sent me all of the information that I would need to basically book a tournament for them. They host charity events and stuff all the time. So they're used to hosting tournaments. A lot of it's just minimum player registration and, deposits and, basically what I want. If I want a buffet or something like that, we don't typically provide food. It's mostly just for golf. So then I reach out with them. I book a day that they'll let me have. Hopefully it's a weekend. And then I put it on the schedule. Once that's on the schedule, I've got to go in and set the tees. We're very strict on what tees we play. Our Division 1 is the only tee that we actually play 6,700 yards. Division 2 plays about 6,400 yards. Division 3 plays about 6,100 yards. And it just gets less and less along the way to keep the handicaps kind of in line and not make it too, difficult for, a higher handicap in a longer tournament. So we adjust the tees. I get everything set up, print the scorecards. It's a lot of work on the back end, to be honest with you. I put it all in Blue Golf. It's the app we use. And that way everybody, because we do offer live scoring throughout the round. So as you're playing, you can always check your leaderboard and see where you are, which is really, I think, one of the most fun things about tournament golf. When you get through about 13, 14 holes and you check the leaderboard and you realize you're, up there in the top, you get all those butterflies, the pressure sets in. It's just something unlike anything else. And then, once everybody shows up for the tournament, we get you checked in. You decide if you want to play any of the side games, which we offer about 3 different side games. We do a skins inside your division. We do a super skin, which is a skins for the whole tournament, which essentially a skin is if you make the best score on a hole. And then we offer a net game, and that's 90% of your handicap. And then we go out and have a good time. Afterwards, you run your score through where you checked in at. with the score, and we award trophies and move on. I forgot to tell you I had to order trophies, but that's it's a lot of work, but it's really rewarding because it's a blast.
And we'll be right back. Golf season is back, and Sunday Swagger just made sure you're going to be ready. Their new spring collection just dropped. They've got 60 bold, performance-driven styles for men, women, and youth. And if all of that isn't enough, well, they just linked up with Pennzoil and Team Penske for a race-inspired collection that brings serious trackside energy to the fairways. With styles for men, women, and youth, you're guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversation when you wear Sunday Swagger. Visit sundayswagger.com, join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits, and folks, Sunday Swagger is going to give you what? Polos with personality. Again, check them out online, sundayswagger.com. And folks, Squares Golf, best golf shoes on the planet by far. It's not a gimmick, it's not marketing, it's science. Let's hear why they say it, and I say it as well.
You've heard of Squares, and there's a reason why. Because the best swings in golf don't start with your hands. They start from the ground up. Most golf shoes are built for looks, not performance. Squares breaks the mold. Our patented design gives your toes room to engage the ground, creating more stability, balance, and solid contact. Your same swing, now powered from the ground up. Experience the Squares advantage at squares.com. Squares. Performance starts where you stand.
All right, now back to more of the show. So let's take that a half a step further, Sean, because you've mentioned fellowship, so it's great, obviously, to get to know more people, more golfers, and that sort of thing, and see the same people going around playing in the tournaments, having a good time, mention a beer on the back nine and all that sort of thing. But, in the sale for somebody that wants to come out there and play, I think you've given them a lot of reasons to this point, but a half a step forward would say, what's the most fun part about coming out there and being a part of an APTE tournament event?
Most fun part? Well, personally, I think my most fun part is the pressure. Not a lot of people like pressure, but, it's a lot different when you're just going out with your buddies. When you've got a 4-foot putt with your buddies, it's not that big of a deal. When you hit the ball out of bounds and you can just drop a ball next to where it went in, it's not that big of a deal. But when the tournament's on the line and that 4-foot putt matters, when there's out of bounds on the right, and you've got to drive the ball and you hit a slice. I mean, pressure is intense and it's just something you don't experience. And you wouldn't think you get it because it's just golf. But at the end of the day, tournament golf does something to you. Perfect example, and not to toot my own horn, but I carry a 3.4 index on my gin, but my tournament handicap is 5.5. I mean, it's a substantial difference in competition versus just regular everyday play. That to me is something I think is the most exciting part of tournament golf. It's what I love the most about it. The fellowship's awesome, but the pressure is fantastic.
Yeah, we talk an awful lot about the mental side of the game on this show. And to your point, we've heard this forever, right? There's a difference between playing golf and tournament golf. And those two numbers, your GIN and your index, certainly show the difference between the two.
Yeah.
So what are you focused on going forward to grow the chapter and the overall tour?
Yeah, so we plan to run some specials. We're still working on the back end on getting some credits and things going, but we have a little guest special. If you come in and mention some, that if you bring a friend with you to golf, we're going to offer some tour credits to help go towards your next round. We're going to be able to do some referrals. We're really just trying to book some really good golf tournaments and honestly put some visibility on Facebook and really just get out to the community and express that, hey, listen, we're here. We're excited about this, and it's going to reflect it by us coming out and really striving to book, consistent amount of tournaments. I mean, I think that, it's one thing to play a golf tournament every other month, but when you start seeing some of these places we have booked for the fall schedule, I mean, it's going to be there's a lot of circles on the calendar to be able to come out and see these things.
All right, so let's take that a little bit further. First of all, you've got a tournament coming up at my favorite local course in the Atlanta metro area, Bears Best. Talk about this week's tournament.
So this week's tournament's pretty awesome. So we have the national chapter is had a major here. They're actually doing a 2-day major at Bears Best on Saturday and Sunday. We've got 120 golfers registered for that. It's actually full, and which has been great. But we decided to go ahead because we had so many players and that we wanted to get a warm-up round for it. We booked a Friday event for that as well. That's got 90 players already registered for it. Bears Best is one of the premier courses in the Invited Network. It's awesome. And if you haven't played there, it is hard. It's fast. It's normally in great shape. Some of the houses on this place are some of the most beautiful things you're ever going to see. And it can be a very intimidating golf course. But more importantly, it's basically a collection of all of Jack Nicklaus's favorite courses. I mean, it's the par threes on this course are second to none. They're almost all of them are all over water, and it's a blast. Have you played there?
I have a couple of times. Yeah, it's one of my favorite places in the game of golf.
Yeah, it's a great course, and it's we're looking forward to it. We have a tournament about 2 weeks after that at Old National. That's actually our Old Atlanta. That's our end of the year season finale. So that one's actually for members only. Unfortunately, it's the only tournament of the year where we keep it members only. Like I told you, we have a points race, and it's coming down to the wire. I mean, I've got a couple of guys in Division II that are like 100 points apart. We give away $1,000 worth of promotional stuff like golf bags and free memberships and things like that to the point winner at the end of the year. And so it's a pretty coveted prize. You had mentioned earlier that I won it last year, so I've got this really nice golf ghost bag. And it's pretty cool. It tells you what division you play in and player of the year, and it's a really nice award. But that's our last tournament of the year. So we're right at the end of our season. We typically go September to October. So
you mentioned some circled events for the fall. What other tournaments and courses do you have lined up for the rest of the season?
Yep. So in the fall, we start back in October on October 11th at Braylon Golf Course. That's down in Peachtree City. That's a fantastic golf course. We have a new one on the schedule this year that I don't think anybody in Atlanta's played. It's called Butternut Creek. It's up in Blairsville, Georgia, and it's a mountain course. It's got a really great restaurant attached to it. It's really scenic golf. It's going to be a lot of fun. We booked Brookstone on November 2nd. That's over in Ackworth. And that's a really nice private club. That's one of those that you've got to play a lot of shot placement golf. You can't just bomb it and go. It's a very difficult course. And we went and played it a couple days ago, and the greens were rolling lightning fast. So I think that's going to be an awesome event. We have Flat Creek in November. That's also down in Peachtree City. Actually, I think that might be Fayetteville. We have Whitewater Creek. It's another private course. And then we wrap up on December 7th at Eagle Watch, which is actually my home course. And it's going to be awesome. So we're diligent working on our 27 season for the next year as well, but we don't have any of those ready to put out yet.
Sean, I want to switch gears just a little bit, and we'll come back to some things at the end, but I want to go through some questions just for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So for you, when did golf become an important part of your life?
I actually went to college playing soccer, and my college roommate was on the golf team. There really wasn't anything to do at night. We had a lit driving range at a college I went to in a town called Pulaski, Tennessee, Martin Methodist. And so we would go and have adult beverages and hit golf balls. And I think that was when I fell in love with golf. I mean, it was I was there for a soccer scholarship, but I I absolutely loved playing golf from that point on. And I just dove into it from there. I took lessons and I couldn't get enough. So I've played on the amateur tour for like 6 years now, 6 or 7 years. And, I just fell in love with the competition and the people. So, I mean, it's golf's just been my unspoken hobby. I have a 5-hole putting green in my backyard.
Oh my!
It's literally my happy place. I go out there. I got 2 border collies, and both of them are trained to bring the ball back. I'm just I'm
That's
a golf
awesome.
addict. I love it.
What's your favorite course in the state?
Man, that is a really difficult question. I mean, I have played some really nice plays. Sugarloaf is pretty awesome, but honestly, how do you pick? We have so many good ones around here. I think interestingly enough, we have 142 golf courses that's in the state here. So it's like, how do you decide which one's the best? I mean, I just recently got back from Branson, Missouri. I went up and played Big Cedar Lodge.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you that it is going to be very difficult to top the level of quality and just the scenic of that golf course. Those three courses with Paynes Valley, Buffalo Ridge, and Ozark National. That was one of our majors, and it's probably one of my favorite in the country.
All right, so let me live a little vicariously through you, because that's a place that I have really longed to go play. Tell me about a little bit more about the courses there and what it's like to tee it up.
Well, for one, the views are incredible. I mean, when you drive in, you almost can't believe it's real. I mean, you drive through the opening part that says, Big Cedar Lodge, and it's like just spectacular view after spectacular view of golf course. I mean, it's so manicured and perfect. You don't find any grass out of place, and it's gorgeous. But the biggest thing is the golf course itself is so challenging because the way they laid it out through the mountains that it's one of those things you've got to experience. I mean, we actually went up there. I played in the major, and right after I had an early tee time, I went and played the riding par 3 course they had. And I'm gonna be honest, I paid almost $400 to play around on a par 3, which
Wow.
I didn't tell my wife about. And and I'm gonna tell you, you'd never think this would come out of my mouth. It was worth every penny of that $400.
Is that right?
You hit through an open cave with a waterfall. I mean, just everything about this place is it's what you expect a absolute, dream golf course could be.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. I'll tell you that.
It's worth it. The hardest part's just getting there. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
A little different bent to this question, but then what's your toughest course? What's the toughest course you ever played?
Toughest course I ever played. Man, I think Sequoia is really difficult, honestly. I mean, placement golf is hard, and especially placement golf where you can't just, hit a solid driver down the middle, where you have to decide, to hit less club. I mean, Sequoia is one of the few places where you have to actually hit, less than driver, really less than 3 wood on par 5s. And
is that right?
It's difficult because you don't want to do that. You want to go reach these par 5s, but it's so dramatic that, these drop offs and cliffs, you really got to place it in the fairway or it's gone. I mean, there's no missing on either side of the fairway. There's, long mountain on the left and there's big slope hills on the right. It's hard, but I think Sequoia is a really difficult place to play.
Do you have a bucket list course that you still want to play?
I'd love to get out to like some of the Vegas courses and play. In September, I always butcher the name, Wakapo or Weekapaw up in Phoenix. Wakapo. I was close. And, I'm looking forward to playing there. It's one of the highest rated public courses in Phoenix. I love playing desert golf and stuff like that. You hit the ball a long way. Up until last year, my bucket list course was TPC Scottsdale, but we actually got to go and play there last year. So
is that right?
I'm searching for more. I mean, I'd love to play some of the higher end courses like Shadow out there. Maybe one day.
What was TPC Scottsdale like?
It was easier than I thought it would be. It wasn't really that challenging. Yeah, it was it's pretty open, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously the course condition was fantastic, but it looks a whole lot different without all the stadium.
That's disappointing.
It doesn't quite have the same feel when you're hitting in the stadium versus when they take down, because they don't keep the stadium there year round. So they actually take it down.
Huh. That is disappointing.
But it's okay. It was still a good time. And, as you can tell, I play a lot of golf. So it's difficult to narrow it down on where
Do you have a favorite tip that someone has shared with you over the years?
I think my favorite tip is just hit more putts. I mean, I actually spent a lot of time telling my wife the same thing. If you just made less 3 putts, we'd all be in better shape here.
Indeed.
And I think that, putting is such a boring thing to practice. I think if you just spend time putting, I mean, that's the biggest thing I try to focus on myself. I mean, I have this backyard green. I literally hit 1,000 chip shots a day to wear my dogs out. I never take my own advice and putt, but every time I try and take time and putt, I seem to do good in tournaments.
Yeah, well, to me, that is the best tip out there, right? I mean, how many putts do we take around? And that is the easiest way to shave it off, like you mentioned a moment ago. If you wouldn't 3-putt, how many strokes would that save you on your scorecard? And it typically, for most of us weekend warriors, it's a bunch.
It's a ton. And on top of that, everybody misses the green. You get up and down, you really shave off a lot.
Indeed. Do you have a favorite player of all time?
It's hard not to like Bryson. I mean, I don't know of all time, but it's I grew up in the Tiger era, so I mean, I got all my Nike stuff. I can't say I don't love Tiger, but how do you not like Bryson DeChambeau? It's exciting and fun. He didn't have a good year this year, but it's been just following his whole movement has been fun. I hope they come back, and I hope he gets back on a more rotation where we get to see him more often on the PGA Tour. But I really feel as though the PGA Tour has been kind of stingy with shots lately. So I'm hoping that we start getting a bit more action.
Yeah, agreed. Do you have a dream foursome if you could put one together?
It'd be hard to complain if I got to go out with, say, a couple presidents. That would be pretty awesome. Bush, Obama, and Trump all in one.
Wow.
I think that'd be a blast. Even the golfers going out with like the young guys, Ricky and Spieth and Jordan,
Justin Thomas.
Justin Thomas, thanks. I went blank there. I think that would be awesome too. So I mean, it's any of those groups would be it would be a lot of fun. It'd be a different experience on both sides between the presidents.
Yes, it would.
But both of them would be something to talk about.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think I'd just be happy to go out with some celebrities. That would be a lot of fun.
Yes, it would. Sean, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention our mutual friend Daryl Osborne, who got us together. His son married my daughter, but I have to get from you. I need a little frame of reference. How good is Daryl, and how many strokes aside do I need to have him give me if he and I ever get out on the golf course together?
I think it depends on what tee box you make him play from. Honestly, he's Daryl has capability of shooting in the low 90s. He's got a good swing. He doesn't miss the fairway too often. He doesn't hit a lot of too bitty fat shots. He just, like everybody else, those pesky iron shots get in the way. But for the most part, I think that I think you take him, man. Right now he's struggling a little bit with his back, but if you get the hardest part is just getting him out there and getting him to play. I tell him all the time he's got to get out and play more golf. I work with Daryl on a regular basis, and I'm your typical sales guy, so I spend quite a bit of time on the golf course. Trying to get him out is hard. I appreciate him introducing us and stuff like that.
Same.
I was looking forward to chit chatting with you. I think I've listened to a few of your episodes, and I had no idea. I had no idea that I was secondhand connected.
How about that?
What a small world.
Indeed.
But look, I appreciate it. And, we've got a solid schedule coming up, and I hope that, you come out and play a few tournaments with us sometime too. I don't know how often you get out there.
Not enough over the last few years. I've gone through multiple ankle replacement surgeries. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to play much over the last 3 years, but I'm coming out the other side. So I'm looking forward to getting out there a whole lot more once we get into the fall season, and hopefully then regularly out in the spring. But I'm working my way back.
Yeah. Get some cooler weather.
Indeed.
It really hasn't been that hot of a summer.
It has not. And here in Georgia, it certainly has not.
And the dang rain every day has just been insane.
Indeed.
But I've been fortunate. I haven't had any tournament. I've only had one tournament that got rained out. So, it's not been terrible, but it's definitely been wet. I've had a lot of guys that complain that I set the tournaments up too long. They're not getting any rollout this year. And I've got the same problem. I need the ball to release. What happened to these hard Georgia red clay?
Right. We all do. Sean, for our listeners who are now excited to get out there and be a part of what you're putting together, whether it's here in Atlanta or other chapters around the country, and they want to sign up, how can they get involved and what do they need to do?
Yeah, perfect. So the best way to go is to aptgolf.org. That's our website. Our membership's $135. It's a 365 day membership. So if you join today, you get a full calendar year from there. With that, you get a $50 credit to our APT Pro Shop to buy some swag, gloves, hats, whatever you could think of. There's also a bunch of other credits like World Golf website that gives, you get like a $50 credit for that. You'll get a $50 credit to some of our other partners like Turtles and Golf and our latest partner, Johnny O. It's once you sign up, you pretty much, you'll get the questionnaire to ask you where you shoot, and then it's up to you on when you're ready to come and join. I'm happy to have you reach directly out to me. You don't have to join. I'm more than happy to give a guest, one-time guest entry into the tournament if you want to give it a try. We're actually really good with college students and kids too. We have a lot of younger players that come out and play. The best part of tournament golf for younger players is once you've learned to play tournament golf, it really helps you in college. Tournament golf is one of the few things that you got to do it over and over again to understand how to, accomplish it. I mean, it's a different bird, and it's not something you can just go out and practice for. I always say tournament golf makes better tournament golf. So, come out and give it a chance. If you're the kind of person that thinks you're not good enough for tournament golf, well, you're actually the perfect person for me, because, you don't got to be a scratch golfer to compete against players in your own ability. Come play one event, meet everybody and experience it, man. It's really a good time.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And the fact that you actually have 5 divisions and it's legit 5 divisions, and you do a lot of homework to make sure people are in the right place and you don't have sandbagging going on. I think that's where a lot of folks start to get a little, we've all been through the member guest or whatever, where all of a sudden somebody that is supposed to have an 18 handicap shoots 72. So the fact that you guys do a lot of due diligence to make sure people aren't doing those things makes it more fun, because you can kind of go into, whether you're a Division 1 or a Division 5 player, you go into it with a clear head knowing you got a shot and not someone's going to take it from you.
That's exactly right. And again, if you come out and we do place you in the wrong division, we have a regulation tab that you can come in and request to move back to different divisions or move up, if you feel like you can play in a different division. We're really going to monitor you. We're not just going to stick you and leave you alone. I'm pretty involved. So, at the end of the day, it's about having a good time. It's about meeting a bunch of good people and really testing your skill set.
That's fantastic. Sean, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and be a part of the show. You're fantastic, my friend. I hope you'll stay in touch and come back and let us know how things are progressing, because I think this is a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I think it's great for our listeners. And I think more people will generally want to get involved because of how well you run things.
Heck yeah. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you having me. And, maybe next time I'll have my wife on. She runs a lot of the back end business, and, I'm sure she's got a good bit more to say than I do.
I look forward to that as well.
Awesome.
Sean, take care, my friend.
Have a good one.
You too. That is Sean Pierce, folks. And again, we're talking about the Amateur Players Tour. And as he talked about getting out there and having a good time, aptgolf.org is the website, right? And look, I love what Sean is doing. And the reason why, as I was saying throughout the course of the conversation, is this is not only a great tournament, but it's also run, and it's not going to be a place where you feel like you don't have a chance because someone is going to come out of the woodwork and shoot a crazy score and run off with the trophy. So that to me is what tells you that they are putting in the effort to make sure everyone is in the right division, that everyone has an opportunity to go out there and compete against like kind of skill sets. So it's perfect, right? I mean, for $135, are you kidding me? Why wouldn't you? Right? I mean, I'm excited about it to get my gaming gear and get myself back and ready to go and potentially get out there next spring and play in some tournaments, right? I mean, it's fun. And I know how Sean talked about the fun part for him is the pressure, But I think the pressure is a little bit different. Not that it's not there, because we all know it is. We've all played in tournaments at our clubs or when we were growing up and all that sort of thing. We know that pressure comes with the game of golf. That's why Dr. Bob Winters is on all the time, right? We know all about those sorts of things. But I think it hits a little different when you know that the other players around you are all relatively at the same level as you. So I think it makes it more fun. It makes it more something that you want to be a part of and you can go out there and do. And look, as he said at the top of the conversation, you're going to get to go out there and play in some of the private courses that you don't normally have access to. How great is that on top of everything else? So when you kind of stack everything that Sean is doing between great courses, great fellowship, fun, and opportunity to win, and then on the, like I say, some of the places that you never would have otherwise had an opportunity to play, for $135, you can't lose. So I highly encourage everybody to go out there and check them out again online. It's a great website. They've got a lot of, look, he talked about being able to be in tournament and see what the scores are. That's a lot of fun as well. But they post all of these things too, so you can kind of keep track of what's going on and how you're doing and how the other players are doing around you. So it's just a win-win for everybody. So go out there and check it out. Let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll get Sean, and like you said, maybe his wife next time around will keep us updated on what they're doing and how things are going and how things are growing and where they're playing. I know from all my friends back home in Pittsburgh, we'll talk a little bit more about that, or get one of the representatives in that area on the show as well to talk about how you can get involved up in the state of Pennsylvania. But Sean's fantastic. We'll catch up with him again soon. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this special bonus edition of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to Steve Shingledecker and Sean Pierce for joining me. Like I mentioned last time before this bonus opportunity came up, scheduled to join me next time are 7-time Canadian women's long drive champion Lisa Longball Vluswick will be here. Our good friend and PGA Tour legend Tom Purser will be back, and making their next on the tee debut with me will be sports and performance psychologist Dr. Jim Emphrenow and Emmy-nominated sports writer Phil White. So a lot of goodness on tap for you next time. As always, I want to thank my friends over at Trib Live for being such wonderful partners of this show and for hosting it on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports now, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by clicking on the sports section tab. Right there on the homepage of the sports section, you're going to see the most recent episode available for you there. Or type in podcast.triblive.com, click on Next on the Tee. Many of the most recent episodes from this season available for you there as well. But as all of you guys know, right? We're anywhere you get your podcast content. You'll find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and GolfNewsNet.com as well. Like I said at the top, also want to invite you to subscribe free to my new page over on Substack. You got a lot of great articles and content for you over there as well. You can listen to the show there if you like to, uploading the audio each and every week available for you there. Also, keep your eyes out for the Next on the Tee Legends Vault series, some short clips, 1 to 5 minutes, from the vault of over 1,000 episodes. So picking and choosing some great ones for you, so check that out as well. The On This Day in Golf History is available for you there. The Did You Know series available for you there as well. So a lot of great stuff on the Substack page. I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to that as well. But like I say each and every week, my biggest thanks go out to each and every one of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, bar none. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies, and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.